dream again. We are the emissaries from the void.
All right, welcome back to Emissaries from the Void.
The void. Void. We've been here forever. We've never left. Tristan, how do you feel living in the void?
Comfortably numb, I guess.
Okay, yeah, so, the void's just heroin. That's fine.
Yep.
Anyway, who are you?
I'm Tristan.
I'm Ari, and welcome back to this lovely episode.
Yes. This week we are talking about Dave Made a Maze, 2017 independent feature in which Dave
makes a maze. We did it, everybody. We did it. Woo!
Technically, Dave has made a maze.
Yeah, the movie starts in media res. The maze has been mostly completed, although it is specifically not done.
Yeah, and it's made of cardboard in his apartment living room, but it's bigger on the inside, so he's gotten lost in his own labyrinth of cardboard.
Yeah, it's made out of cardboard and assorted other supplies. And
right.
Yes, he has made it in his living room, and we start the movie with a animated cinematic of just showing his daily life, which as a fellow person with ADHD, I very much resonated with. He seems to cycle through various hobbies and recreational activities, and then he gets this idea to build the maze, and we see a flash of what serves as the antagonist of the Minotaur formed behind him, because it's not like a spoiler to say this, but he and the Minotaur are the same thing. The Minotaur is like his
dark side.
His dark side, yeah. So...
yeah, pretty overtly, not lampshaded, telegraphed by this opening sequence.
Very artfully done too. I really like the opening of this movie, and I think that it does a really good job to set a tone and to show the kind of person that Dave is, and the things that would motivate him to make some of the more questionable actions that he makes in this movie.
Okay, yeah. So before we get too much further, obviously, spoiler warning for Dave Made a Maze. I think I could recommend this movie to anyone, pretty much. Probably, I want to say it's better to go in cold, but I don't know if it really matters all that much.
Yeah, most of what you'll get out of this, the plot of this movie is very simple. It's a bunch of people trying to get out of a maze that Dave made.
Yeah, there's not really a lot to spoil.
Yeah. It's more about the effect that certain imagery will have on you, and also just there's a few gimmicks in this movie that we're gonna spoil that might be more enjoyable to see if you don't know them coming.
Yeah. So go see Dave Made a Maze. It's streaming a lot of different places.
It's free on Amazon Prime, so if you have Amazon Prime, you can just watch it.
Yeah. Okay.
In the U.S., I should say. If you're in another country, I don't know. Tristan, what was this movie about?
So, this movie pretty transparently about the creative process and how you can get lost in the creative process. So the maze is a metaphor for that. It pretty much wears this on its sleeve. But then there are some thematic elements that are a little bit less overt. There's Dave's dynamic with his girlfriend, Annie.
Who is a very long-suffering woman.
Yes.
I feel for this girl. Look, Dave isn't a bad guy, but he is a bit of a man-child.
Absolutely.
And she really could do better.
Yes.
And
again, yes.
Yeah. And I remember you said that that your partner had a similar feeling about that when...
Yeah, Kitty was kind of upset about that. She said this was a movie that she probably would have liked a lot when she was younger and less experienced. But she spent most of the movie kind of focused on Annie and the fact that she's just kind of expected to be the mature one who cleans up after Dave.
Yeah, and the movie actually does bring reference to this a few times as well. It just doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like some of the other characters refer to like how Annie's going to be the one that has to clean up all this shit once Dave does take the maze apart, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. To which her response is to look weary. and
honestly,
then,
if you told me that, like, you know, if they separated 6 months after this movie, I'd be like, yeah, I get you. I feel
exactly.
You.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it glorifies it though. I think that's just her character. Like I think it's okay to have characters who have codependency issues and show that in a movie. It doesn't glorify it. It's just her characterization, which I can understand why Kitty didn't like, but you know, it's just...
I'm not convinced that the filmmakers
thought about it that much.
Were that self-aware about it.
That's fair. See, like, again, it's difficult for me because, like, you know, my like superpower to find meaning in anything, it's difficult because on one hand, that's what I do in my own work. If I want to portray codependence as just a thing that's happening, I would do so intentionally for the purposes of the story.
Right.
So I assume the best out of the other people that we consume the media of, you know what I mean?
Right.
Unless it's Neil Breen, in which case I know he doesn't know. But, you know.
Yeah, I guess. So this movie was directed by a Bill Watterson, but not that Bill Watterson.
Yeah, once again, we have a not that one.
Yeah, this man did not create Calvin and Hobbes.
Shame. That would be really interesting if that was the case. If this was...
would, yeah.
Because honestly, you know, now we bring that up, this movie does have some interesting overlap in the sense of like projected imagination becoming a real force in the world.
True.
Like they're not like thematically consistent with each other, but like, you know, like a Calvin growing up to then make the maze, it kind of works.
Yeah. Like the personality is different, but for sure. So let's talk about Dave Made a Maze.
This movie's depth is based on its exploration of a very simple concept. So it does differ from some of the other movies that we've watched where they've been about a lot of things. This movie is very focused on what it's about.
Which is a kind of a streak coming from Hatching, which was very focused as well.
Yeah. Hopefully our next film will be a little bit more in-depth again. Although, to be fair, this has been a good little break after the back-to-back of Holy Mountain and Mad God. So
yeah, true.
Fair enough. But I suppose the question I have for you is, as someone who creates things, as a fellow creative soul, how did... You told me after we were watching it that it didn't really resonate with you. How are you feeling about it now that it's been like a week since we watched it?
Yeah, a week since we watched it, and I watched it a second time.
Which means that we have both seen this movie twice.
Yeah. That is still my main complaint. I, like Dave, am a man in my 30s who still gets parent money and goes through a lot of different creative ideas and mediums, just constantly bouncing back and forth. I have had, I will say, more success than Dave has had in most of his endeavors, which are shown to be complete failures.
Yeah, although, you know, so we both have ADHD.
Yes.
Very severe.
That too.
And unlike Dave, I am a woman in my 20s, my late 20s, and I haven't seen money from my family since I left home. So I don't relate to, like, I'm not some chaotic artist being only uplifted by the benefit of other people. I've had to fight for the mental spoons to make anything because I'm so busy working full time and like all that stuff, right? So like my relationship with this movie just comes from resonating with the idea of being obsessed with your creation less than the desire to create something meaningful because you don't feel like your life is meaningful, which I think is Dave's central conflict, is that he doesn't feel like he's made anything of worth and he keeps failing, and this maze is the closest he's ever come to making something real.
Yeah.
But it's horrible and it keeps killing people. And it's like,
Right.
you know, the struggle between wanting to see your project to the end, but also cutting your losses, because like it's the gambler's fallacy, right? Like, you know, or the sunk cost fallacy, yeah. But more the gambler's fallacy of just like, if you just keep pushing on, then you're going to hit it big. Because like, he's not mad about the effort that he's put into it. Like, it's taken him a weekend to do this. It's more that he just doesn't want to get out because he feels like he's so close to finishing the maze and making something meaningful.
Yeah.
Which is the gambler's fallacy, of course. You know, you should learn to just cut yourself out at a certain point because
maybe
I would say that it's not sunk cost because he's not too worried about the time and resources and effort he's put in. He's more focused on just like how much he's failed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, this time he's going to make it big. This time the slot machine's going to give him the $3 million payout.
Well, coming back to me for just a moment.
Excuse me. You can raise your hand. No. Okay. Yeah.
My point was that I relate to all of these factors, and it feels like this movie should have punched me in the dick.
I can do that for you if you need me to.
No, thank you. My emotional dick. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's your heart wiener.
Yeah, the dick of my heart should have been punched clean off. And this is a movie that pretty consistently, with some exceptions, pulls its punches. And I think that's its main weakness.
Yeah, Dave gets let off really easy in this movie.
Yeah.
Even circling back around to his relationship, Annie reconciles with Dave in this movie. And that is the wrong choice. And I think that might be part contributing to you not feeling emotionally resonated, because if Dave lost everything in this movie because of his pursuit of the maze, then that would have been, at least as far as I think, would have been more resonant for you.
Yeah, as it is, it's a nice movie. This is the cleanest movie we have reviewed.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. This was a movie that cost about $500,000 to make, which is a very small budget for a feature film.
That's a microscopic budget. That's like approaching home video.
Budgets. It's still a budget. I would call it a micro budget, and like below that is shoestring budget. It made like 36,000, I think, is what it read. Definitely under 50,000. Totally bombed, like as far as return on investment,
which is hopefully par for the course with Dave.
Hopefully they've made up for some of that with distribution and streaming.
This was definitely a labor of love for sure. Like everybody on board was doing it because they wanted to do it.
Yeah,
and the movie kind of is about that too. Like we get like a glimpse, because there's like they walk into a room in the maze that shows their memories. And they're like remembering these other home movies that they made together, and it's like and it's like about that in some ways, and so it's very fitting that Dave Made a Maze, which is about a man who can't make a successful project, is not a successful movie in and of itself.
Yeah,
kind of a meta turnaround to the whole theming of the movie.
So I guess I'd like to kind of establish, like, not a whole synopsis, but just so we get all the names straight. Dave and Annie are in a relationship. Dave makes the maze. Annie comes home to find him stuck in the maze, having been there for 3 days. He tells her to call, I believe it's Gordon?
Yes.
Yeah, Gordon is his friend. Then Henry, I think, is the James Urbaniak character.
Gordon is played by Adam Bushk.
Okay.
From Buffy the Vampire fame. He plays
Buffy the Vampire fame.
Yeah, he plays a character called Warren Mears.
Okay.
So that's another connection to Buffy. Honestly, at some point we just need to watch this fucking show.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are like the ones that are important, basically.
Those are the important characters. Basically, Gordon comes over, assesses the situation, and then invites a bunch of people over.
most of whom we don't get named in the film. They're only named
Yeah.
in the credits.
Weirdly, Leonard is named and seems important. Like the first time I watched it, I thought James Urbaniak's character was Leonard because at the beginning he says, "Call Gordon." No, call Leonard. No, call Gordon.
Yeah.
And then Leonard is totally inconsequential.
Right. Yeah. Like it's almost like he's their landlord. Like
Almost.
that's like what it felt like. Is like,
but apparently he's just a friend.
he's just a friend. But the ones that are important are going to be Annie, Dave, of course.
Yeah.
Gordon and Harry. And Harry is
Harry? I said Henry.
it's Harry, but it's okay.
Harry.
It's fine. Harry is a like cinematographer who has decided he's going to make a documentary about Dave's maze.
Yes.
And in fact, the start of the film is it's like a mockumentary. This film's like a pseudo mockumentary. Like it's got some mockumentary elements in it.
Yeah, a little bit.
And so we start off the film with a cut of like an interview that we get the full scope of like an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
Although they don't, honestly, if they had committed to the mockumentary style for the whole film and they hadn't had anything else, I would have enjoyed this movie more. Personally, like if it would have just been presented as a mockumentary, because my favorite movie ever is What We Do in the Shadows, and it's a mockumentary.
Yeah.
I love mockumentaries. Like the same way that you feel about like really enjoying psychotic comedies, as you put it.
Yeah.
That is how I feel about mockumentaries.
Yeah.
I just have a soft spot in my heart for like Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think there are definitely some things that would have been lost, and some things that I don't think you could do, including my favorite scene of the movie, which is like almost a dream sequence.
yeah, that's true. That's true. They should have just not had the mockumentary at all then, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like,
Way to throw the baby out with the bathwater here.
what
Ari.
purpose does it serve?
I don't know narratively, but it's funny.
Okay, fair enough.
James Urbaniak is, I think, pretty easily the funniest part of the movie.
Yeah, he is. All right. Ari's not going to be a draconian about this. It's fine the way it is. But Tristan's...
Things must be only one or the other.
I don't say that. I only said that a few times about very specific things. I just want commitment from people. That's like at the end of the day, like I want people to commit to something. And I feel like half-assing the mockumentary style, it makes me upset because it's like they use it, but they only use it for like 3 things in the whole film. And then it's only used to justify certain characters being there.
Little bit. But again, it is funny. And like basically to sum it up, Henry has his small film crew, which is just a cameraman and a sound guy.
Yeah.
And they're following everybody through this. And Henry is constantly like kind of prompting people to deliver what will be good content for his documentary.
You're right. It is really funny. So, you're right. I retract what I said. I guess it's more just like I want more of that. Like, or if they had like, I don't know, like there are certain, but you're right. There's certain, like the scene where the really artsy, like almost Lynchian scene that we get at one point that you really like wouldn't work in the mockumentary style. So I can appreciate it.
Yeah. But yeah, it would have been nice because there's clearly a connection between him and Dave. They had this other project.
Several other projects.
I feel like that could have been developed more, and like Henry could have like grown to his own conclusion about the creative process or something.
Harry.
What? It is Harry?
It's Harry.
Oh god damn it! I switched it again.
Yeah, you keep calling him literally every
Henrys and Harrys. They're pretty much interchangeable if you think about it.
You were calling him Hector earlier, I think.
Harold has
that guy.
I'm just gonna call him James Urbaniak.
Okay, that's fine. You can.
Okay, so earlier you were talking about the gambler's fallacy.
Yes.
And I feel like that is predicated on the idea of this making money.
Well, in a vacuum, the gambler's fallacy is just like, this time it's going to succeed. It doesn't necessarily mean money.
Though.
Yeah.
And the way Dave talks about this project, it doesn't seem like he's that concerned with success so much as making something that makes him feel creatively fulfilled.
Making something meaningful. Yeah, you're right. I don't really have a good other... The closest I can think of is the gambler's fallacy.
Yeah.
Because again, like the sunk cost fallacy is about the idea that like, I've put so much effort into this already, I might as well see it through.
Right.
I don't get that vibe so much from Dave.
Yeah. He's kind of conflicted about finishing it.
Right, because he acknowledges that like this maze is bearing all the darkest parts of him as well. And so the Minotaur that's going around and killing people in this movie is a representation of that dark side of creativity. Because when I've been reading a book by who I will say for the record is an absolute fucking tool, but I've been reading a book by Orson Scott Card that's like about character development, and it's a really good book. Like it's a really good resource. And in it, it's like he has a whole like aside where he talks about how like no matter what you do, when you write a story, you're gonna bear parts of your soul to people that you didn't intend to, because you just can't help it. Which is a sound piece of advice. Like, I mean, God knows his books bear his fucking dumbass soul to the whole world.
I feel like he comes off a lot better in his books than in real life.
Yeah, there's some problematic stuff, but we're not going to get it. This is not a book podcast. Once again, I'm sorry, audience. This is not a book podcast.
Books mentioned.
I know. Every time we bring up books, I'm like, don't run away.
I thought you were going to suggest we have a clack song go off.
But the point is that like for me, I'm a writer. So Tristan, you're an editor. That's like your
a lot of things.
But like that's the thing you do a lot of. You edit things.
Lately, yeah.
And so like, and what I do a lot of lately is writing, right? So our creative pursuits are different, but they have methodologies to them, and we look for fulfillment in making things that people will resonate with. We've both talked about making films together. We make this podcast together. You have your other podcast that you do. And like in essence, we both inside of us have that drive to create something meaningful.
Yes.
But in doing so, we do bear parts of our soul to other people. Now in the podcast format, or in the editing format, that's not going to come through as much. Like if you got hired to edit a movie, people aren't going to necessarily see that part of you as directly, but the choices that you make as an editor might reveal things about you.
I think they would see it directly. They might not be as conscious of it.
That's fair. That's valid. Whereas like in the written medium, it's by its nature a more direct link to that internal voice, which has its pros and cons, of course. Not saying either is better or anything like that. But I just mean in general, like I resonate with the imagery of the Minotaur because it's like I, as a person with a lot of trauma and darkness, can see how my work might ooze that out without even trying.
Yeah.
You know, like the way you see the world and the cynicisms that you have about the world and the various maybe questionable perspectives that you have about things that maybe you aren't even aware of, but you have your characters say, and that creates a situation where people are like learning things about you that even you didn't know about yourself. And that's why it's important to see the Minotaur as an externalized threat rather than just like Dave doesn't turn into the Minotaur. He's still in the maze. He's gotten hurt by the maze, but this other part of him is running around in the maze.
Yeah, it's kind of like a shadow self.
A Jungian concept, you know, like we've discussed to death on this podcast at this point.
Like it could have been a fucked up bird creature, and that would have also been valid. But that kind of brings up, like, is the Minotaur lashing out in a kind of defensive capacity?
It wants to be free.
Yeah.
It wants to get out of the maze. They say that, like, again, this movie wears everything on its sleeve.
Yeah.
So what do you feel about the idea of the Minotaur wanting to escape the maze? Like, how do you interpret that? Because I think that that's going to be the juiciest part of this film, is that, like, because we'll talk about your favorite scene at a certain point, but like up front though, the idea that the Minotaur's goal is to escape, and then that's used to defeat it at the end, by like baiting it away. You know, that to me seems to speak to the idea that your shadow self wants to be seen. Like it's almost adding like a conscious element, like your subconscious trying its best to be revealed through your art.
Yeah. I think there's something to that, and it does escape. Like that, the final shot of the movie, after they've thrown the cardboard into the dumpster, he emerges from the cardboard
along with one of the paper birds.
Oh yeah, and is just kind of strolling like a badass down the street.
And then we see the end credits is the Minotaur partying with everybody, basically.
Oh yeah.
Which this is such a positive movie compared to what we've watched. Like, people die in this movie, but you don't feel it.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
But I think that does kind of lend credence to the idea that this is a dark side of him, but also a power within him that's yearning to be free and like be creative in a way that's unabashed. And I think that symbolized Dave kind of finding that creative power within himself for the future.
I agree to that. I also think that there is something to be said about what motivates you to finish a project, right? Okay. So if you are content with your life, you might make art, but you aren't particularly motivated to express things the same way that someone who is tormented by things is. Like, let's ask you a question. Like, artists tend to be pretty tormented people, like as a general thing. Yeah. And that's not because art brings out that inequality in people, but I think it's because people who have repressed darkness,
it needs to come out somehow.
Yeah, and they're motivated. Because like for me, I started writing poetry when I was like 9, and my poems are rarely about good things.
Yeah,
they're about sadness mostly, because I've got a lot of internalized sadness.
Yeah,
and that comes out in my art. Not intentionally, I'm not trying to make people sad, but the themes that I'm going to represent in my work are going to be sad, because that's what I feel. And that's not to say that things can have a happy ending, but a story is nothing without conflict. And who better to write conflict than people who are conflicted?
Yeah.
And of course, different art forms are obviously motivated by different things. And that's not to say that everybody's a tortured artist. That's not like a fair statement to make. But I do think that there is something to say about the impetus to create, to being largely inspired by our shadow self, which is not evil, just repressed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Stephen King, I'm pretty sure, I don't know a lot about Stephen King, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that he's at points like been worried about himself, that he has this like darkness in him, that he writes about dark subjects as a way of, I think he said, keeping the alligators fed.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing, right? Is that there's a degree of emotional honesty that is that we, at the end of the day, all have dark feelings in us. Anybody who says otherwise either doesn't know themselves enough or is just lying to themselves, because we every single one of us has at some point had feelings of like wanting to hurt someone else because they wronged us, or wanting to be spiteful, or wanting vengeance, or being so hurt by something that we don't know how to process it and we just shut down. Yeah. Like, if it hasn't happened to you yet, it will happen to you at some point in your life where your heart will be broken. it's seen as a rite of passage for maturing as a person.
Yeah.
To go through like earlier you said that Kitty was experienced and she was too experienced to watch this movie. Well, experience is just trauma. Right? Like
I guess
experience is like having things happen to you that have taught you lessons about the world, and that pain is what it reinforces who you want to be and who you become. And the self-knowledge of that pain is how you can shape yourself into a healthy person. But we all have alligators that need to be fed. We all have appetites that need to be sated. And you see that in people who engage in like BDSM, or people who write horror books like Stephen King, or people who like engage in extremely adrenaline junkie activities to like get that thrill, to sate that part of themselves that's craving for that experience. And it's the people who don't pursue those outlets for their feelings that end up making the decisions to hurt other people and to, who we would call bad people, we call them repressed. Well, what is repressed about them? They don't have a venting outlet for their darker feelings.
Yeah.
You can disagree. That's just how Ari feels about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. There maybe could be nuance added to that, but I think that's a good
Sure,
framework.
I'm painting with broad strokes.
Right,
broad strokes audience. I mean,
exactly.
like I said, like not everybody who creates is a tortured soul.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call myself a tortured soul anymore, but I used to be before I figured myself out. Like I used to have a lot more inner torment, and that fuels my creativity. Even though I've got a lid on it now, and I'm like a composed person now, I can still tap it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what distinguishes The Maze from all of Dave's other projects in this film, is that he finally tapped something in himself, figured it out, and made something, and he'll go on to now make things.
Yes.
Because the Minotaur is free. He has liberated his shadow to roam, and what's happening? It's having a great time. It's no longer stuck in a maze. It is partying with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the most optimistic way to show someone externalizing their shadow self.
Yeah. My path as a creative started in childhood, where both of my parents are creative people. They met in college as theater majors. That's always been that kind of expression has always been a part of my life, and it's become this sort of innate drive that I have to just create things. But it is tied up in need for validation and that kind of dopamine addiction, I guess.
Well, okay, no, don't be so harsh on yourself. ADHD is literally a dopamine issue.
Yeah.
Our brains don't have as big of a tank as other people's do. We have to refill it.
That's
so
fair.
It's not, I mean, everyone's addicted to dopamine. It's the chemical that tells your brain that you're doing good things.
Yeah, and it's the chemical that everything on our smartphones is designed to exploit.
And it's turning the frogs gay.
That too. Yeah, of course. So I developed depression and anxiety at some point in my teens, I guess. And I have existential sort of demons.
Which comes from the depression and anxiety, no doubt.
Yeah. So I don't know. My journey there is a little bit different maybe than is represented by this movie, but I definitely feel that drive to create something that I feel is worthy. And that seems to be Dave's main motivator.
And that's the thing that resonates the most with me in this movie too. My mom's a psychologist, so I did not grow up with that kind of artistic infusion. My mom's a person who abandoned her artistic dreams because she used to paint a lot, and she used to, before I was born. After I was born, she abandoned a lot of these things, but she used to be very artistic. and paint things. That was like her hobby. And now she doesn't really do those things. And I was always motivated to be like, I'm not going to do that. I'm always going to hold on to my creative pursuits because, like you, I want to make something that I feel is worthy.
Yeah.
And I have made a lot of things like in my time. I've painted paintings. I've tried to write books a few times. I've written lots of poetry, and none of it has felt like it's been good enough yet. Despite what other people have said about my own work, it just doesn't feel like it's ever enough.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably a lot of artists feel the same, and that's kind of wrapped up in like imposter syndrome as well. And that can have a serious impact on like self-worth. That's definitely something that I have struggled with and continue to struggle with, is feeling worthless. And
well, I love you, Tristan.
Thank you. I'm not having a crisis at this moment, but it's, you know, an ongoing theme.
The implication being that I would only say that if you were having a crisis.
Okay. The implication being that I would only need that reassurance if I was having a crisis. But it's good to hear. Thank you. Now I'm fully derailed.
I'm sorry. That's what Ari does. Ari derails. I'm so sorry. We were talking about just the need for validation in our work.
Yeah. Wanting to create something that we determine as valuable in whatever sort of abstract metric
that even we both don't know the full extent of.
Yeah. And something that's followed me for my whole life is the idea that I've never really given myself fully to anything. Any project, I've never given 100%. And
not even really understanding what that would be like.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know if you've ever been put in a flow state by your ADHD before, like getting hyperfixating.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, not just like the desire, but the absolute need to be able to just tap that. Like, could you imagine what we could accomplish if we could just turn our hyperfixation on? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? And that's like, this movie is like Dave hyperfixated on building this maze, and in like a couple of days built this whole thing that even like he says it's taking on a life of its own, but you could easily read that as just like he just doesn't remember because he just got so into it.
But then the hyperfixation runs out. For me, it's never lasted more than a day.
The last time I remember hyperfixating was when I was like for longer than a day, was when I was 19. I hyperfixated on learning game design so I could make because I like work on my RPG that I've been making, right? So like I spent 2 weeks and read like so many books, and then like when it ended, I had this skill, and I now can think of things in this way and make games. And I think back on that, and that was almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I still have this skill, but there's so many other things that I've wanted to learn how to do, and I can't.
You can't just like
you can't just bring it back. Because when the hyperfixation lasts for a day, you just end up with a mess usually.
Right.
Like you might accomplish something, like you've definitely made things. I've made things, but like a day is not long enough to gain a skill. And I feel like, at least from my experience, I really struggle with acquiring new skills because it's just like I get so hard on myself. I have such a deep, intense internal critic that prevents me from pushing through the point where I'm bad at something until I can become good at something. But when I have been able to push through that, I'm very good at what I do. But it's like if I didn't have this voice, this minotaur in my head telling me that I needed to be stuck in the maze because I can't fucking overcome this internal thing preventing me from getting better at things, then I would be so much better at the things that I enjoy.
Yeah, it's complicated for sure. I do think this movie explores some of that, and I think it could have explored more of it.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, like our conversation that we've been having here is more interesting than the movie is, in my opinion.
Honestly, yeah. I feel like this movie wastes some time. I mentioned the Leonard character being totally inconsequential.
Yeah.
Honestly, should have been cut entirely. Nothing would have been lost.
It's very fun to have you be the one to say it this time.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm the one that says that this should have been cut from a movie.
Yeah.
But I can agree. I think his purpose is to just like show somebody coming in after your work and appreciating it without you there.
Yeah.
Because like he's the last one to wander into the maze.
Yes.
And he dies at the very end. Like he's dying as the maze is coming apart.
Yeah.
Poor Leonard. And the way I've like always interpreted, because he walks into the same room that they were in earlier, that shows all of their like student film things that they were doing, and
but at that point it's like softcore pornography.
Well, he changes it to, or no, right. They changed it to softcore pornography by accident by thinking about it that way.
Yeah.
But he came in and was just enjoying the softcore pornography.
Yeah.
And you know, it's almost like fan fiction. Like this is a fan fiction writer coming in after your novel, and
is that what Leonard represents? Yeah.
I don't know, like that. Well, that's just like I feel like he's there to like, be like the person that comes after.
I just don't feel like they said anything about that.
I'm using I'm at like 1% of my power to like comprehend this, but like the way I'm reading it is just like he comes in after they're all done. Because he didn't get on the hype train at the start.
Yeah.
And he's enjoying the work after the fact, but the fact that he's killed by it is showing the level of irresponsible creativity. Like the theme of this movie is that some creativity is irresponsible. That like just because you are in a flow state and you are succeeding at creating doesn't mean that it's worth finishing, because it could be irresponsible. Like let's say you're writing a book and that book has some theming in it that's going to incite some people to feel a certain way. You as the creator might not necessarily have been originally intending that, but at a certain point you need to ask yourself, is it responsible for me to finish this piece of art? And now that's a controversial thing that I have just said, because there are some people who would be like, no, art shouldn't be censored. But it's not censorship if you are asking yourself the question of should I put this out in the world? And I think that Leonard just kind of represents the people who get swept up in the aftermath of your creativity. And because the maze was an irresponsible thing for Dave to make, it kills Leonard, because he's a victim of the fact that he did not have the creator there to guide his experience with the art, and B, he was drawn into things and wasn't carefully analyzing them. Because analysis of media can help you navigate those kinds of things. So you as a consumer of art can be like, okay, this has got some questionable theming in it, but I'm not going to be influenced by that. I'm going to understand it. But most people just consume the art and they don't think too much about it. And that's Leonard. In fact, that's everybody. That's everybody but the core group that gets killed. They just are the masses consuming this art and being
the bassist from OK Go was destroyed. Did you know it was the bassist from OK Go? Kitty pointed that out to me.
I did not realize that, but okay.
Yeah.
To be fair, whenever I've seen OK Go, I haven't been paying attention to the faces of the people. It's more of the fun video that they put out.
The vibe, the stunt of it.
They definitely do a good thing with the vibe. I think that we've pretty much beaten that horse to death with Leonard, though. Like, you didn't like him. You thought he should be excised from the movie.
Yeah.
I was trying to find at least some justification for him being here, but I've made the case.
It seems to be mostly gags, and they're not funny.
No.
Sorry.
No, it doesn't resonate with me as gags. Honestly, now that you're pointing it out, I do see what you mean, but I didn't even read it that way the first time I watched this movie.
At worst, they're disruptive to the to the feeling that's being generated, because they keep cutting back to him as the maze is collapsing, and it like the music will cut and he's still like being sawn by the buzzsaws,
which, you know, is a type of humor, but it's a type of humor that only works in the moment and in retrospect. When you go back in your brain and retrospect it, you either excise it from your memory or you do feel like you do now, where it ruins the emotional tone.
And the fact that they did that twice, and they had a cutaway to the exterior of it like gently shaking just as a cardboard fort in the living room. Like, you got to pick one. None of them were going to be hilarious, but pick one.
And I would have picked the exterior shot because I thought that was really nice to like see like it slowly falling apart as the maze was coming apart, because like from the outside it is just a maze. It's just a little cardboard maze.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I also liked how you can see where they are inside the maze relative to the outside. So like when we get that shot where Dave is like having his crisis and we see the sandwich on the ground where she put it, and you can see that, like, you know, on the exterior shot of the maze, you see that one part with all the holes in it, so you know where they're at, which they can just get out by cutting through that part because there's no other maze there, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a literal one-to-one you are here kind of thing.
I felt like there was, but you know, whatever.
There's also the part where they ostensibly make it out of the maze and they find the rest of the apartment is cardboard, but then that's not there in the exterior shot, so maybe that was just an illusion.
That's just an illusion. Yeah,
Okay.
that they didn't make it out of the maze.
Because what they say in the moment is that it's spreading, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Cut Leonard, get him out of here. He has one like funny setup for James Urbaniak when he's like, at least he wasn't sucking a big veiny dick for Kickstarter money. That's not how Kickstarter works.
Yeah, Leonard should have been at the beginning and then
Never seen again.
or he's there in their apartment. What would have been really funny is like, because he starts raiding their fridge as soon as they all go inside the maze.
No, that's the homeless man does that.
Oh, that's the homeless man. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I gotcha. Well, it still would have been funny if like he had been doing those things and then they like come out of the maze and he's just there like having a snack, drinking some coffee.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a funny use of his character, because he shows up in the beginning, sets our boy up for that funny joke, and then at the end he's like they're eating all their food, like he's raided their fridge, and like that would have been a funny joke in my opinion, and wouldn't have taken away from the emotional resonance of the maze coming apart. It would have actually been a good like little off like a release valve for the tension.
We've talked about the other people and their experience in the maze. It seems related to the idea of the maze taking on a life of its own.
Oh yeah, when they're talking with the cardboard person.
Well, I mean, just in general, throughout the movie, there's this concept that Dave built this technically, but then a lot of things
It's escaped his control.
Yes. Yeah.
When I say death of the artist, what I mean is its actual meaning, which is that the artist does not have exclusive control over the meaning of their work. It is not that you can divorce an artist with problematic views from their work. It's merely that an artist does not have the complete control over how people resonate with or receive their work after it has left their hands.
Right.
And so death of the artist is something I'm very passionate about, because I think that even if you intend something to be seen a certain way, because of how my brain works, I can interpret it 1,000 different ways. And that's just like something that I think that this movie is trying to talk about, with the idea of like how the maze is growing and he's losing control over it, and he has to end it.
Yeah.
Dave has to be the one to make an ending for this.
And he does that by making an emotional core, essentially.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a good concept. Basically, a while back, I said that Dave was conflicted about completing the maze. On the one hand, he wants to finish it because he feels like this is the best or most interesting thing that he's ever made. But he's hesitant to put this like core. I forget like the actual specific words that they use.
Chrysalis, I
They
think?
they at one point they do say chrysalis.
Yeah.
But it seems to represent some sort of theme that would make Dave vulnerable if he were to put it into the work and set it free into the world.
And you can kind of see that with what ends up getting made, because it's the king of hearts stabbing the Minotaur.
Yeah.
Like, so they put it on, they make this thing and they put it on a spinning wheel and it spins, and it's that, what's that? What the hell is that called?
Oh, yeah. I don't know the term. Zoetrope is similar, but it's not exactly that.
Right, but like the action that's happening is that the king of hearts is stabbing the Minotaur.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the emotional vulnerability that Dave puts into his project is that he wants to slay his demon. He feels guilt about that, and that resonates with the thing he makes. And it's by letting go of that, by destroying that emotional core, that the maze is destroyed and that they're freed. So he gets out of the hole he dug for himself by accepting that he cannot kill the Minotaur. Because
Yeah.
he is the king of hearts. When you see that imagery, that's
Yeah.
him. That represents
Yeah.
him, and then the Minotaur is his shadow. And so he's on this battle with it throughout the whole movie. But then by letting go of that battle, by destroying that heart, that's when they're allowed to leave the maze and be free of it.
Yeah. It felt like there was going to be like a little bit more symbolism of being open to criticism by putting himself into the work, but that's really only kind of brushed up against.
Yeah, this movie, it pulls its punches, like you said. And the punch it pulls here is that Dave is the one that gets to destroy it.
Yeah.
It should have been Annie. It should have been Annie that's the one to destroy the chrysalis and free them from the maze, because she is the voice of reason,
Yeah.
cleaning up his fucking messes. And
Yeah.
like, or you know, that's like, because, and honestly, I thought the first time I saw this, I thought that that's what it was building up to. It was building up to Annie being the one to do that, because they have all this stuff about how, oh, you know, you're just like, you know, in so many movies the woman only cares about men and is always talking about men and stuff like that. They do that joke earlier on, so it would have been really like thematically satisfying to have Annie be the one to destroy the chrysalis.
Yeah. I have to wonder if that was even in the original script or if that was something Urbaniak riffed, because I know he was riffing in this from what I've watched of the
His dialogue
director
definitely
interviews.
has a way more his dialogue has a way more fluid.
Yeah,
than
I just
anything
mean I've watched interviews with the director. He confirmed there were like Urbaniak was like kind of like putting a lot of creativity into his role.
Speaking of him, let's talk about the scene where he gets to talk with a representative of the maze.
Okay, yeah.
How do you feel about that scene?
I think it was interesting and it was funny.
High five.
Yeah. Maybe not used to its full potential, but I felt good about that scene. And it's kind of like something that we cut back to a few times during the climax.
Yeah, it's like something to fill out what the other characters can be doing while everybody else is trying to like make the heart. That's what they call it, the heart.
Yeah.
Make the heart and then kill the maze. So like while that's happening, Dave tasks his friends. He takes Annie with him, but tasks his remaining friends to keep the maze busy.
Yes. Yeah, with this like puppet version of one of their friends.
I'm gonna call her a simulacrum.
Yeah.
Of all of this stuff, because even the scene you really like, which we'll get into next, that one I feel like I understand. But this is of this movie. This is the one. This is the part that I think about the most and what it's trying to say.
Okay.
Because like she says,
they're basically talking to the labyrinth directly.
yeah, basically, and revealed to like late at the end of their conversation, the Minotaur's hand is revealed. So this simulacrum puppet is being puppeted by the Minotaur. So therefore, this creature is a representative of not just the maze, but Dave's inner darkness. And it's very telling that it happens to be one of the first people killed in this movie that the maze has assumed the form of. Although she is taken by the Minotaur, so it could be that this is actually her and she's just been fully converted by the maze, basically. This is the super fan of the story to the fan fiction of Leonard, I guess. I wish I had like a readout of like things that she says.
Right, because she does explain like the Minotaur's creation and motivation. She's the one who says that he wants freedom more than anything. The other part of that sequence that was interesting to me was the dynamic between her, Urbaniak, and Gordon. Urbaniak is like, doing his typical documentarian shtick, trying to get her talking and talking in a certain way that's good for his documentary. But it's not always effective at keeping her busy, and what Gordon contributes is a little bit more effective. I feel like that could have been explored more to like show the difference between their approaches, and it could have possibly justified Gordon's character a little bit more.
Yeah, because he's just like the plucky sidekick in this.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. And Gordon seems to be Dave's best friend.
Yeah.
So I do agree I wanted more from that dynamic, because it just feels like he's the first one they call.
Yeah.
Although it is telling that he's the one to distract the Minotaur. So it's almost like that relationship is what allows the darkness to be assuaged for just enough time to kill the maze.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's definitely something there.
Yeah,
his relationship with Dave, like, it's very clear these are old friends. I guess Gordon is able to like kind of bring certain things out of Dave, knows how to relate to him and his. So I guess maybe that's what could have come out, because if they are dealing with the Minotaur and it is Dave's dark side, then it would make sense that Gordon is better at interacting with it. But yeah, again, that's one of the things that's kind of just brushed up against and then left. And speaking of brushing up against things, let's talk about the tunnel scene, the dream scene, the Lynchian scene.
Yeah. So why don't you just start by telling me what it is that makes this your favorite scene?
First of all, just to set it up in case you either haven't seen the movie or you didn't catch what was going on, Annie and Dave go into this dark tunnel, and essentially the labyrinth is trying to drive them apart. And some of this is coming from the interview that I watched with the director.
Although I feel like if you watch it just in isolation, you can read that.
Yeah, for sure. But in his words, the labyrinth knows that those two together have the power to destroy the maze, so it needs to separate them. So they go into this dark tunnel, and it tries to kind of like trap them in their own heads. And we get this sequence where they're seated across from each other in their apartment, and they're having these sort of like esoteric conversations, and they start appearing in different costumes
that are really well done. Like when they tear them away and they're all paper.
Yeah.
Like they look really good, and then they tear them away and they're revealed to be paper. That's a really cool effect.
All of the paper effects in this movie are great. Yeah, for sure. But this scene started, and I immediately perked up. I was like, honestly, up to that point, I was a little bit worried whether this movie was voidy enough for this podcast. But this is a very expressionist sequence. And it's also what he said in the interview based on the work of Hal Heartley. and how he deals with dialogue that is like cyclical and repetitive. He'll have characters say the same lines, but due to the changing context, it means something completely different. So that was really interesting. And we have Dave and Annie. Dave has made her a cup of coffee in the morning. It's the last of their coffee. And she says, "Why don't you drink some?" And he's like, "No, thank you. I don't want any." She's like, "Or are you going back to bed?" Immediately implying that he's not contributing to this relationship. It kind of loops through these iterations where he's shown as a clown, an artist, a hobo. She's shown as a judge, and at one point they're both in bridal costumes because there's that ongoing, unspoken thing of why aren't they married? All of which is really well done, really succinct, really emotionally resonant. There's no music through the whole thing, which helps it, I guess, maybe like some kind of little interstitial stings. But for the most part, it's very quiet and introspective.
Yeah, I really resonate with a lot of the imagery there, like how he gives her coffee, she gives him wine, and then at the end with the candle in the middle, there's nothing left. They've given each other everything that they have. And so they're just sitting there looking at this candle, and then he blows it out because, and they keep saying like, "I changed my mind." That's the word, that's the phrase. So he drinks some of the coffee and says, "I changed my mind." She drinks some of the wine and says, "I changed my mind." And then he leans up to blow the candle out, and she asks him what he's doing, and he says, "I'm changing my mind."
Yeah.
Or making up my mind is, I think.
Changing.
He's changing. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, he's like, "I'm changing my mind," and blows out the candle. It's a very impactful scene. I can agree for sure.
Yeah.
And I like that to me, I read that as, you bring different things to a dynamic. Some people are like hype forces of creativity, like Dave. Some people are mellowing, soothing forces, like Annie is. And, you need to have an exchange of both, and you also need to have it within yourself. If you give someone everything of yourself, and don't take any of it back for yourself, then you will find yourself drained of anything more to give. You have to refill your own cup and enjoy the things about you that make yourself who you are in order to be successful. Because if you don't care about yourself, then how are you going to care about somebody else? And I think, despite my earlier comments about like not being surprised if Annie leaves them in 6 months, I think that the growth of them as characters in this movie does resonate, that he's not just changing his mind about the maze, but he's changing his mind about his behavior in their relationship.
Yeah.
Because she has been pulling all the weight. And so...
Yeah, and this is another thing that resonates with me and my life and my relationships. I haven't had a steady job for the past 5 years. I've been, pursuing all of these creative endeavors, which like theoretically could make money, but I have been leaning on my partner and my parents, my safety net. So that's another reason that scene spoke to me. Even the marriage thing, like Kitty and I are married, but we haven't had a wedding. And that's something that has come up from time to time. When I talked to Kitty about this movie, immediately she was, talking about Annie, because she said in the middle of the movie, she said, if this movie could go one of two ways, and I will either be very impressed or very disappointed, depending on, how the character of Annie is treated. And it went pretty much the bad way. I think it kind of lands in the middle, but it definitely doesn't fully reconcile that relationship dynamic. And so as she was venting about that, I was feeling a lot of those sort of defensive feelings rising up in me, and I actually had to press her, and this is a positive sign, that I had to press her like whether she saw like our relationship in it, and she had not considered that, except like seeing them in wedding outfits. That was the part that resonated with our relationship. So I think there was a lot of potential and a lot of emotional weight being pulled by this one scene. And it works really well. And it's, according to the interviews, this is like the scene where Bill Watterson like took the most creative control. He didn't write the screenplay. I think he collaborated on the story, if I remember correctly, but the screenplay had some early version of this scene that he really like shaped into what it was. And it made me wish that he had exerted more creative control over other parts of the movie and really like stuck himself in there, because this was what really
This is a taste of what
captivated
could
me.
have been.
Yeah.
Just a few more passes.
Yeah.
Just a few more creative passes.
Yeah, but this was his film debut, which is really impressive. I can't like fault the man.
Much better than We're All Going to the World's Fair as a film debut, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's fair. It's valid.
like definitely apples and oranges, but yeah.
Well, no, but
that's
like
fair.
if we're talking about just like executions on film debut and the director's creative style coming through.
Yeah,
I would-
yeah, I get it
Yeah.
for sure.
And like, honestly, between this scene and the scene where they're talking with the simulacrum, I think that those are the two scenes of the movie that really like sell the premise to me. Like the point, like the thing that gives me the emotional resonance of like, why am I watching this movie at all? Is those two scenes.
Yep.
Like everything builds up to those two things, and the conversation that they have with the darkness, and then the conversations between Annie and Dave about their relationship. It feels like it feels emotionally resonant to me.
Yeah.
In a way that if those scenes were written differently, I would hate this movie.
Yeah. One other like brief spark of that, I think, is the interview that they show at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
of
and
the
then
movie
we get the
where,
full
like,
amount of later.
yeah.
I can see that. Where like it's like don't make me look like an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I made something because I wanted to make something. Like essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah. And then like aside from these moments, this movie felt afraid to really grapple with that drama.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by that. Like there's a lot of like reservation about not wanting to go too far. But
Yeah,
honestly,
like,
this
well,
movie would have
we have to make it a joke. Keep it light. You know.
this movie would have been way more successful if they had made the rest of it like that scene you like.
Yeah.
At the very least, it'd be more of a cult classic than it is. I mean,
I have to think so. I mean, it's all speculation, obviously, but
I would just knowing the kinds of movies that do become cult classics.
yeah.
If they had just embraced that oddity and that
Yeah.
weirdness,
The
and
emotional core. See, here, ever since we watched this movie for the first time, I have been like low-key obsessed with comparing it to other properties. And a lot of those comparisons are a little bit unfair because of the budget and because this was a debut feature. One of them is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes, I definitely understand. And you brought
Yeah.
that up when we were watching it, I think.
Yeah.
And that's one of our favorite movies.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
And it had a lot more money behind it, but it was made by a small team who had to work very creatively. But the thing is, its emotional core, it fully commits to that. I was weeping in the theater.
Yeah. Everything Everywhere All at Once. The end scene made me cry too. I saw it in the theaters too.
Yeah. And like it was also a comedy, but it had that like more refined balance between the two. I don't even find a lot of it very funny, if I'm being honest. Like a lot of the humor, like the butt plug stuff, like I I wasn't laughing at that.
I definitely was.
Okay, well, fair. I'm not gonna begrudge you for that, but what really hooked me was A, the creativity behind it, and B, the emotional core, which was really fleshed out. And yeah, I think Dave Madden Mays could have had that level of impact because the premise is gold.
Yeah, honestly, I see exactly where you're coming from with that, especially because like I haven't seen another film so out in the open express what it's like to be a creative person with ADHD. Just without making it about that. Like it's I just relate so much to Dave, like constantly trying to find something that clicks with them to just make a thing that means something.
Yeah.
Like, and I want this movie to be better than it was, just like it seems like you want this movie to be better than it was. It's just, it could have been way more voidy. Like we just needed to like pull it like another couple feet out into the void, and it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Because too voidy and it would have been too esoteric and people wouldn't have understood it. But if just a little bit, just a kiss more of it, just maybe a few more scenes, and Annie being the one to destroy the heart would have.
Yeah. There's.
I think Kitty would have liked it better if that had happened. If it was Annie the one to destroy.
Maybe a little bit, but there's like other things that. Like she said, was there any female input in this script? No, absolutely not.
But working with what was present, I don't know.
Yeah. From the interview that I watched, like I'm not gonna like pass judgment on Mr. Watterson, but it doesn't feel like they knew what they were doing with her character. Like I think they thought this was a strong female character.
Codependent enabler. That's what she is. Now, like, don't get me wrong, I've been there. Like the emotional resonance that you find in that end scene between you and Kitty, I find that in the fact that Annie is a codependent enabler, and I find that with my ex-wife. So like I was the codependent enabler enabling her. Yeah. And being freed of that's why I'm like girl deserves better. Being freed of that is liberating.
Yeah.
But you know, whatever.
Yeah, and some of that is how they portray Dave, because he is absolutely a man-child who isn't pulling his weight. Something that I talked about with Kitty was that he is implied to have a job. He mentions during his rants in his interview that he keeps working shitty jobs that he hates, that he has to beg to get. So that like he's contributing at least monetarily on some level, and that's kind of blink and you miss it. I would really have liked some scenes that showed that at the beginning of the movie,
or like if they committed to the weird Lynchian stuff, like he goes into a part of the maze and it's his workplace and it's a bunch of like paper people like miming out things, like, you know what I mean, like other simulacrums, because it would have like helped show like double down on how he feels like these jobs are empty and cardboard people.
There's something there.
See, but that's the thing, is like we always do this where we watch these movies and we start rewriting them, and like don't worry, all right, audience, our movie is coming eventually. At some point we will make a movie, and then everybody can critique us for all the things that we didn't do. Creation of a movie is a big project, so you know but
absolutely,
obviously we come from a very weird perspective. We are outsider artists in a lot of ways, and that a lot of our skills are self-taught, and that makes us have a perspective that's maybe different than people who went to film, like actually went to film school.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, like that might be what influences us to have that perspective that we regularly do.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do want to again emphasize that I respect this.
Yeah,
I respect the hell out of it as a debut indie film. A lot of creativity behind it.
Mm-hmm. Especially on the set design. The set design is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, you know, brings us, because I think we've pretty much...
So what was one thing you liked and one thing you disliked about this movie?
If I had to pick, I would say that I really, really like the presentation of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I like how it really just feels like they said, well, how would a kid build a cardboard fort? And then they just went with it. Like, it's obviously like bigger and more like complicated than that, but like,
Yeah.
when they're walking, when they first walk into the maze and they like walk through that like string of all the cards strung up, and or they turn around, they like show like, oh well, he used this box, this piano box, and they make a comment about that, like, oh, he must have just used anything that was around, and then they turn around the corner and the room is the piano.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I liked the aesthetic, to put it in internet terms. I liked the aesthetic of this movie, and I really respect whoever was in charge of that set design. I think that they were the star of this show for sure.
Yeah.
And that's probably my favorite part of the movie overall. Is just the I like the giant head. We didn't even talk about the giant head. Like everyone who was responsible for like making all these paper cranes and like,
yeah, and the paper minotaur head, and the
paper minotaur head is the paper minotaur head is so like just like the minotaur looks so good, and they got like a really buff guy to play him, and just like I'm like, wow, like
neuron activated.
Yeah, even my lesbian neurons activated to appreciate a sculpted body. Like the guy looks like a statue.
Yeah,
and the actor they got, his skin color even kind of blends in with the cardboard a little bit, which is kind of interesting. The thing I didn't like the most was that I did not like that Dave is the one who gets to end it.
Yeah,
do not like that. It should have been Annie, because that's what they were building to. Like, like him blowing out the candle in the scene that you like. That's him relinquishing control. That's how it read to me the first time I watched this movie.
Yeah.
And then he still gets to be in control. And it's just like...
Yeah. Has his cake and eats it too, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Not out of a truck stop bowl this time, though.
Right.
Yeah, this time it was just eating cake and having it too on the counter. It's been left out for a few days, though. Starting to get that like weird texture.
This is an interesting metaphor that we're developing.
All right, what about you, Tristan? What's one thing you liked and one thing you didn't like?
Okay, one thing that I liked about this movie, I have to go with James Urbaniak. He's just a treasure, and
definitely the star of the show. If we had to pick one of the actors,
maybe there's deleted scenes somewhere that we could. When the director said that, like, Urbaniak was adding so much, and I think what he was saying was that he felt like he had to take control as a director and like put his foot down and like say like, no, this undercuts what we're doing too much. Stop that. Let James Urbaniak do whatever the fuck he wants, because he's funny, and
he definitely brought a lot of gravitas to this movie and
cut Leonard to make room for it. Because, I mean, talk about undercutting. But one thing I disliked that we haven't mentioned is about a third of the score.
Oh yeah, see, I didn't even think about that.
The music works really well when it's indie rock. Like all of those music cues work, and then a lot of the score works fine. But when it's just the light comedy scenes, this is honestly maybe just a pet peeve of mine, is like quote unquote comedy music where it has to be like quirky.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of that, especially at the beginning of the movie, and would have been better off without it. But maybe that's just me. And then again, that the collapse scene, that they should have just fully committed to that drama. And here's another comparison: Rejected by Don Hertzfeldt. My spoon is too big, but it has that breakdown scene at the end, and it's really powerful despite all of the ridiculous, asinine stuff that's led up to it.
I see what you mean. I can see what you mean.
Yeah. Just committing to drama can be funny in itself.
Yeah, let the comedy be the implication, not necessarily having to draw attention to the joke with the music cue, which honestly, I think I just don't like comedies. Like that's what I'm like kind of learning about myself, is because like I like movies that are funny through implication, but not like presented as a comedy.
Interesting.
This is like the one I've liked the most, but like when we watched like Little Man, for example, I fucking hated it, but I hated it for all the reasons that people would love just a stupid comedy for.
Right.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Well, regardless, to summarize my thoughts, this would make a really good exhibit at Meow Wolf.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like that's what I want. That I just want to walk around in this.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't really know how well I
chop
feel.
my head off with a cardboard booby trap. Oh, here's one more detail that I really appreciate. When the like guillotine chops off First Lady's head, before it falls off, she's got it's clearly a red ribbon around her neck. I really like that detail.
All the gore in this movie is just done with string and thread and paper, and I really love that. That's a really nice artistic like decision that they made for this movie.
Yeah,
that really helps sell the premise of like how the maze is not real life. It's a different plane of existence that they've walked into.
Yeah, but they're still dead.
But they're still dead. Yeah, they're all still fucking dead. And I guess they're all in his dumpster now because he threw them outside. I guess it's not the most complicated way to end up in 3 dumpsters.
Speaking from experience. This has been Emissaries from the Void with Ari Stell Hawthorne and myself, Tristan Bowersox. New episodes will be released every other week with short bonus content we're calling liminals in the off weeks. The intro music is Now I Hear Little Dreams by Captive Portal, and the outro music is Arcadia by White Bat Audio. You can find us on Blue Sky at Void Emissaries, and remember that's single M double S. You can find Ari as Obscurity on most platforms and me on Blue Sky and Letterboxd as TB McQueen. The latter is where you will find our watch list and suggest movies you'd like to hear us dissect. You can also email us at emissariesfromthevoid@outlook.com to give feedback, alternate takes on the movies we've discussed, questions, suggestions, etc. Emissaries from the Void is a Void Opal podcast produced by TB McQueen Creative. For something completely different, listen to my other podcast, Fan Fiction Theater.